Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Kitchen Table Pundits Podcast, Season 2. I'm Tyrone.
I'm Travis.
And it's been a while, America. We've been busy. We've been getting things together. You're probably asking, if you've been paying attention, how come Season 1 was only 3 episodes long? It's because it is, and you don't know our lives. So, we're in Season 2 now, bitches.
Let's go with it.
Get used to it. So, if you didn't check out Season 1, basically what we're going to do here is we're not going to read you the news. We're going to comment on the news. Think of us as like a supplementary source to get a different take, a different perspective on the things that are already in the news. So, if you're a news junkie, if you're a politico, and you already know what's going on, following along with us shouldn't be that hard. But if you're looking for information, if you're looking on what's going on, I'm going to have to kindly ask you to find a different podcast or a news source, and then come back and listen to us.
That'd be wise.
So, we don't want to get into the weeds on all this stuff, but we just want to give our perspectives and interesting takes. So that's what we do here. And we're going to try to do that for you once a week. Look for us on the Facebook, on the YouTube. I'm looking into SoundCloud. We'll get that too. So yeah, now we got all that housekeeping out of the way. We wanted to start Season 2 with not so much a story that we'd focus on, but kind of like a theme, if you will. Right? Like, kind of like a leitmotif, an underlying current of American politics. And Travis and I were talking, and we've reached the conclusion that there are a lot of things in this country that are coming to an end. Things that are going the way of the dinosaur and Zima and the way of Limp Bizkit's career. Things that are dead and buried.
Well, logos with caffeine. Oh man.
So we're gonna talk about some of those things. I would like to start off. I'm just gonna get right into it. If you've been paying attention to not just the primaries, the Democratic primaries, but politics in the state of American politics over the last 4 years, and you have half a brain in your head, then it is clear, I think, in my opinion, that one thing that is coming to an end is the Republican Party as we know it. Now, that might sound a little crazy. We live in a pretty much a two-party system. So, it's hard to conceive that the Republican Party will just completely disappear, much as I want it to. As much as I want it gone, scrubbed from existence. It's just going to mean a big shift. We hear a lot about demographic changes, and we hear a lot about new voters waking up and approval ratings. Like here, for example, as of September 24th, the date we record this podcast, Real Clear Politics has Donald Trump's favorability at 42%, which means 53% of Americans hate him. Okay? I did some more research on that number, and the guy's never been over 45% his whole presidency.
That's his ceiling. I mean,
that's his limit.
40 to 45 is where he's been comfortably sitting for.
That's all he gets. And if you're bad at math like me, that means more than half of us hate him, which means this shouldn't be a thing right now. We lived in a real democracy. So that's interesting. Okay. Well, people don't like politicians in general, right? The least popular politicians is Mitch McConnell, according to The Hill. Everybody in America is divided right now, but we can all agree that Mitch McConnell sucks. Yeah. That's okay, fine. So those are polls, Tyrone. I can hear you screaming at the laptop. But what about the policies? What are the Republicans actually doing?
What do they stand for?
What do they stand for?
That's a good question. I can't answer it because I don't know anymore.
Elaborate. What do you mean you don't know what they stand for?
I know what they
anymore?
used to stand for, but today I can't tell you. You know, if you were to say I'm going to become a Republican, oh this means that you represent this and you believe in this, and I honestly can't tell you anymore. It seems like it's just a party of no. It's just a party of obstruction. It's just a party of wealthy, powerful people, and that's it.
Cruelty.
Cruelty. Like, they don't care about anybody else. It doesn't matter if you're a poor black Democrat or a poor white Republican. It doesn't matter. Any issues that affect you, they don't care, and they're kind of out in the open with it. You know, they haven't. You know, they may not have just said it, but they, with their policies and their actions, they just seem like they don't care about a majority of the country. And they're very comfortable with just governing with just the top, 5% of the country, and that's it. They're just comfortable there, and they feel like they have the power and the money, and that's gonna keep them steady. And obviously, most people know that's not true, and that's not gonna happen. But it seems like that's where they're comfortable at. So anyone who's deciding to become a Republican, it'd be very hard for me to, if you're not a rich white, top 1% person, it'd be hard for me to, figure out exactly what you stand for.
Yeah. So you mean Travis, like, for example, when we were learning about politics in high school, and we'd hear things like, the Republicans are the party of fiscal responsibility.
Right.
It doesn't mesh that the Republicans just blew a $2 trillion hole in the deficit to give the wealthiest 1% of Americans a tax break.
Yeah.
You're saying
you're
saying that doesn't work. That doesn't line up.
Exactly. That's exactly my point.
You mean to tell me that the party who stood for patriotism and loving America and working hard, the American dream, that does everything to suppress the vote and stop immigrants from coming to the country, and to treat the Muslims and other marginalized people in this country who are already here with little or no regard, while letting white supremacy run rampant, while trying to start wars with superpowers overseas. Those things don't seem to be like America first and no more wars and all the shit that Donald Trump said, and frankly the Republicans before him have been saying for decades. So look, man, I think one of the reasons why mainstream media is still going to their jobs every day and pretending that this isn't happening, that the sky isn't on fire, that the top of the GOP tent isn't burning off right now, is because they honestly, really, truly don't understand the power of the information age that we are in right now. They are oblivious. See, there's a reason two randos like you and I can jump on a microphone and talk about these things in great detail, have what we say backed up by facts and the listeners, in less than a minute and a half, and the news business seems to think that whatever they say is the start and the end of the conversation. So, for example, if we say, they read an article just giving you the outlines of the let's say the whole tax break situation.
Right.
So they give us the ins and outs. Here's how much it is, what it did, blah blah blah. They think that's where it stops. Meanwhile, people are sharing stories with each other about how they can't afford food now, or they thought that their taxes were going to be better than they actually were, and now they're screwed for the next few months till they sort their shit out. We hear about them, just the political stuff, the the black and white pen and paper stuff about, you know, immigration reform, and meanwhile we hear stories and see videos about people who are affected by this shit all the time that the news doesn't report on, partially because it happens so fast, the spread of information, but also because even if they did have time to cover it, it's not
as sexy as the act of doing it. It's almost like the media will report like, oh my God, if the Republicans do this, it's going to affect people like you. And then when it actually starts affecting the people like them, those stories aren't sexy enough to cover. It's like, oh, you rather cover the act of them doing more shit to you than actually, you know, cover the people that it's affecting and show those stories and, you know, and try to, you know, change people's minds by, like, you know, by showing, you know, the real consequences of a lot of these policies and actions. But instead they rather just report on the action because, oh my God, look what they're doing now. That is a headline that sells, and that's what they're more focused on. So I think the media is absolutely, you know, guilty in all this, you know, just as much as the Republican Party to their downfall, you know, because the media, you know, they're the ones who are focusing on, you know, what the Republicans are doing. That's the only time they get clout, you know, they get fame and press, is if they do crazy, outlandish things.
Right.
And that's what people are listening to, but the consequences are never shown. You know, even though we talk about what can happen, what will happen, what is happening, they never actually show them or talk to these people that are actually affected.
They'd rather ask some rando far removed from the situation what they think about it, and then we're supposed to take that as we're, you know, as gospel, which kind of segues into the second point. I mean, I think the Republicans have figured out that the more outlandish, the better, not because they're a bunch of clowns here to entertain us who don't know any better. They know what they're doing. So with the rolling dumpster fire that is the Donald Trump presidency and the shit that his administration does, that ridiculousness and the craziness and the outlandishness, it just provides cover for not the morons. I call the Republicans a party of monsters and morons. The morons are on the stage. They're the ones that we see every day. Yeah. Those are the ones fucking spinning the plates and creating the spectacle. The monsters are the ones in the back, stripping fucking regulations away and slowly dismantling federal agencies and plotting wars and being unnecessarily cruel to immigrants and brown people and like those guys are and I think that
just so they can, you know, and they do this just so they can, you know, have their message be accepted by a small group of people in this country. I mean, that's the sad part. I mean, that's why I think, you know, they are coming to an end, because it's the people that they're trying to please that they don't, you know, they just have, you know, money, power, bigotry, racism. You know, what I mean? That's all they have. So they're playing to that, and the fact that you have a party, a national party that plays to these people, is sexy. So it's like, yeah, let's listen to that, and it's like, I don't think we're taking it as seriously as we really should. It's like, yeah, we have a national party. This is a two-party system, and one party is only focused on pleasing, you know, the bigots and the racists and the millionaires and the billionaires, and most of the country, you know, is not those people. You know what I mean? So it's not sustainable.
Right. They're catering to the very rich and the very racist. That's the base of the Republican Party, right? So okay, Tyrone, that's a heavy accusation. What makes it? Where do you come off calling all these people monsters, morons? What evidence do you have? Prove it. Okay. Just off the top of your head, Travis, how many stories, different stories, can you think of about people saying or doing something gross and or racist against a sitting member of Congress? How many different stories in your head right now?
There's more than enough.
At
least this week, you know, you can just think of, you know, a couple, you know, about Ilhan Omar, her daughter, you know, getting death threats and you know, and stuff like that because of who she is.
16-year-old climate activist.
I mean,
in high school, getting death threats because her mom's Ilhan Ilhan Omar,
you know,
and or she talks about the environment.
Right. You know,
right?
and we also know the real reason too. The underlying is that she's brown and she's a Muslim, and you know, she's in Congress, and they feel like there's this takeover that's happening because she looks different. She might believe things that are different, so therefore she doesn't belong. She's not a white male at the top 1%. Kind of attitude, and it's just.
What about when that one Republican PAC just burned an effigy of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and tried to link her to fucking Cambodian genocide or some shit? Like, out of nowhere. They say that all the time, that socialists want to fucking come turn your shit into Vietnam, but they just say it. There's no evidence. You can look at the policy, but I digress. So there's that. I can think of an incident where there was a bunch of kids who worked for Mitch McConnell who were standing. Remember this one? Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and they were fucking groping it and choking it. The cardboard cutout. That was a thing. We can think of, you know, the ICE guard, the private prison guard who almost ran over a group of protesters because the First Amendment's not a thing. They forget that if they love their second fucking amendment, they got to get past the First Amendment to get there. So they obviously don't know their goddamn Constitution. Not to mention all of the fucking right-wing psychos. Well, what about the guy who shot up the baseball field? And there was that other guy who shot up Vegas. Okay. All right, those guys were liberal. One was a liberal and one was independent. They all have mental health problems, but most of them are Republicans, and they're white people. And they're white lashing at us. And the Republicans do nothing. Steve King openly talks about not having other people's babies. Mo Brooks fucking quotes Mein Kampf on the floor of the Senate. We've got the fucking Republican president of the United States condemning fucking white supremacy, and you're gonna sit here and tell me that I'm out of line for calling these people monsters and morons. This is all stuff that we have access to. This is all stuff we can see. And I think this, to conclude, I think all of these things, combined with an undeniable shift in demographics in this country.
Oh yeah, young people are leaving the party you know, insanely fast. I mean, once these kids continue to grow up, and the younger kids, I don't know, the 13, 14, 15-year-olds, I mean, they're not growing up conservative. So this is going to be rapid for the Republican Party. They need to figure this out, because people are just not becoming Republicans, again, because you don't know what a Republican stands for. So yeah, people are probably
and the things we know are fucking, they're god-awful. They're atrocious. So yeah, and to your point, I think that demographic shift is going to happen a lot sooner than everybody thinks. I think 2020 is going to be a blowout. Not so much if we nominate a hardcore establishment Democrat, but they'll still win. They'll still win because Americans found out the true face of the Republican Party has been revealed, and it's a white, bigoted, rich person who wants to just be mean for the sake of being mean, and Americans aren't feeling it. So I think 2020 spells the end of the Republican Party, or at least the start of its decline. So that's my prediction. When this is going to happen, like I said, it's already been set in motion. 2020 is going to start. If not, confirm that it's over. They won't be able to win dog catcher after 2020 if I have my way, unless they find a pedophile stupid enough to run, because they do that too. They run pedophiles and child molesters and sexual deviants and predators, and nominate them to places like the Supreme Court. So I'm sorry, I really, it's just when you are a part of a marginalized group in America, as a black guy, like, I feel there's no leeway, there's no room for you to consider coexisting with people who would rather see you suffer and die than to coexist with you. So I can't see any ground in these people. I can't sit here and tell you, well, my great grandpa was a Republican, and he was a nice guy. He didn't really express any of these terrible views. Well, then leave the party, man, because your shit. The Republicans, that's all they are right now.
Right.
They're all right, and I mean, the Democrats have our fair share of problems. We're not fucking angels, but
normal problems.
I don't gotta worry about fucking Nancy Pelosi fucking being a racist. Right. You know, exactly. She's not reading Mein Kampf for fucking nominating child molesters.
Exactly. Right.
Like, you know what I mean?
No, exactly.
So it just I get worked up about these people because they need to be stopped. Right. It's not just a difference of opinion and policy. It's a fucking problem.
Right.
The party literally represents all the things that any decent person, left or right, should be against. I don't know why I have to debate them, and I don't know why I have to pretend they're legitimate. So I won't. I'm done with it. So I'm calling for the end of the Republican Party. Politically, we don't send bombs like they do. I don't want to show up at people's houses with weapons. But I do want to show up at fucking voting booths, man.
Yeah.
And I want to elect the fuck out of them, out of office. Yeah. So, I'm sorry.
We don't need any violence. We don't need to go to our second amendment remedies yet.
Not that serious yet. Get enough fucking militias, because they do that too. Right. Republicans love to gather in groups, grab their guns, and then stand in the middle of the fucking highway like a bunch of goddamn dollar store terrorists. So that might be a thing that happens. Yeah. Once the decline of the Republican Party starts, and it's gonna be, and it will happen. It's just a matter of the extent to which it does happen, and the extent to which our hopefully progressive federal government will put an end to that shit. Because, these people, they're dangerous. They're dangerous. And if you're a moderate Republican and you honestly don't feel these terrible things in your heart, and you're disappointed, but fucking leave the party.
Yeah.
I don't want to include you with them. I'm not trying to include you with those people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know there's good Republicans out there who don't hate me because I'm black and fucking really do just want to save money and, I get it. Fine. You gotta speak up and get out, dude.
Exactly.
You gotta go.
Exactly.
Your shit is gross right now.
Exactly.
You gotta leave, man. And I don't want to lump you in. I know. I don't want to lump those people in with the monsters and morons, but more of them keep ascending. More of them keep taking power.
Right. And the moderates, I'm not saying, it's going to be an end of conservatism or the end of, fiscal conservative, or Republican policies or anything like that. But, those people who are still calling themselves Republicans who know that this shit is crazy.
Yeah.
It's time for them to speak up.
Yeah.
Because if they don't start to speak up, they're just going to be guilty by association.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're just going to be as bad as the people marching down streets with tiki torches and hoods on, and running people over with their cars because they're protesting something you don't like. You're just as bad. You can't quietly in the background be like, I don't really support that, and then still, vote for them or still say you're part of their party. So eventually, they have to stand up, and I think, a combination of them, not standing up, and a combination of the Republican Party catering to everybody who is not them. It's just all going to eventually split and become a mess.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have a whole bunch of conservatives walking around not knowing what they're doing, not participating in democracy. It's just gonna be a big mess, all because, a small group of people who call themselves Republicans, have the party and are going to, use the party for their own gains. That be either money or power or the racist agenda. That's really what the Republican Party, that the brand of the Republican Party is being used for now.
Right.
Is that if you have a racist agenda, if you want to keep power or get power, consolidate power, whatever you want to do, we can help you with that. If you have a lot of money and all this, we can do all this stuff. If you want to be a racist or a bigot or get rid of the brown people or make America more white,
be a sexist.
We can do that.
Forget about that.
Let's put women back in the kitchen. Stuff.
Let's not forget that shit. I forgot to fucking rip into them for that. They're the most misogynistic. If that's what you're into,
we have a spot for you. That's what the Republican Party is, and it's time that we
They're fucking owning up to it. It's time for moderates in the party.
Right.
To own
it's time
up
for
to
people.
It.
Right.
The leadership is owning up to it. That's who we are. Yes.
Right. So it's time for you to say, well, that's not who I am, and find somewhere else.
Well, then you need to go.
Right. Exactly.
So
that's.
I'm done with that. Travis, what do you think is coming to an end outside of my patience for these fucking monsters and morons? What are you what are you seeing coming to a demise at this late juncture in the presidential
I think
election?
This is this is actually leads right in from what you were talking about, the Republican Party ending. Mm-hmm. I think the end for Donald Trump is coming, and I know that's an obvious statement for a lot of people who are like, well, of course it seems like it, but I think honestly, for real, at this point, the end is coming, because I think the Democrats are starting to get balls, and I think they're starting to see like, okay, this guy is starting to do a lot of things that are just not. It's above and beyond what crazy now. We're at a point where it's illegal, it's wrong, it's whatever you want to call it. Yep. Call it whatever you want. And we can no longer go on like this. Right. We cannot have another scandal. We have scandals every other day, every hour. Yeah. We can't. If we've impeached the president over a blowjob. A president was impeached over a blowjob. Yep. So to somehow suggest that we can save face and be a reputable country, right, any longer, and say, oh, we can just wait for the election while all this stuff is coming out. I don't see it happening. I really don't think Donald Trump makes it to the election. I really don't. A lot of people don't think the Senate can convict him, but I honestly think there's so much more we don't know, and the stuff that's coming out is more than enough. Right. I really think that he can definitely lose an impeachment trial, and I think he can be bounced from office. I also think that he's going to get more primary challengers too. So
real quick, sorry, not to cut you off, but do you think? Because right now, I mean, just the top two things I can think of is the shit with Poland. Yeah. About him withholding funding until they fucking looked into one of his political opponents.
Oh, Ukraine.
Ukraine, sorry, not
Hunter
Poland.
Biden. Yeah, that was
Ukraine. And then just like the 10 instances of obstruction of justice from the Mueller report.
Right, just the Mueller
people are pretending
enough,
wasn't a big deal.
Right, exactly. That's just enough. But
so are you saying? Do you think that'll be enough? That's what we're gonna camp this out on. I think. Or is there going to be more?
I think it's going to be enough to start the investigation. And once we start investigating, I think it's going to be like a faucet, like a water faucet of just stuff that's going to come out, because it's almost impossible to investigate this president if you start an investigation and not not touch on the other things. It's all it's like the president is going against a 19-headed monster when it comes to like legal cases and all kinds of things. You know what I mean? It's almost impossible to think that more stuff isn't going to come out once the investigation happens, because eventually the investigation is going to stop and like, oh, wait a minute, and then the Southern District of New York is investigating a lot of things about Donald Trump. It seems like there's not going to be enough fight left. There's not even enough people for the fight. Right. Eventually, he's going to get investigated. There's going to be so much stuff that's going to come out. Not to mention his tax returns. We're going to find out that he's not just in bed, with the Russians, or he's in bed with a whole lot of other people. Right. And I feel like as the investigations go on, it's going to get harder and harder for anybody to keep their job as a Republican and not impeach. Because states like Colorado, is already blue. It's going to stay blue. You got states like Arizona and Texas and Georgia, and that states that are going to, eventually make Republicans pay for this kind of stuff, because they've already have shown with the polls and with elections that they are not, they're not as conservative as the Republican Party might like to think Texas and Arizona and Georgia are. So eventually, coming real soon, they're going to have to pay for this, and so that's why I honestly think the Senate, it's not a long shot. I really think that they could actually absolutely convict this guy, because people are going to hold them accountable once the evidence comes out, and if we can frame it to where people can understand it and see like, oh my God, this was so bad. Sorry about that.
It's all right. Someone wanted to fucking air out their Harley too at the same time.
Same time.
It's all good.
I think once people understand, exactly what he's done, what he's doing, they're going to be like, oh, I get it. And it's up to Democrats to frame this and put a bow on it and give it to people the right way.
Sure.
But, once...
but it won't be that hard.
Right. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think there's just so much stuff out there that hasn't been uncovered. It's going to be... at some point, even if you don't understand what's coming out, you're going to be like, well, all this shit just sounds ridiculous. I can't... there's no way we can have him as president. And I think he either loses his impeachment trial. I think he definitely gets impeached. I'm 100% certain on that. We are going to have the hearings and the trials, and that's going to happen. I don't know if he gets removed from office. I don't know.
Right.
But I think that happens, and I think it's going to be pretty hard for anybody looking at this and being like, I can't. I have to vote to remove him from office after all the evidence is out. And I also think that he's going to have a lot of primary challengers. And I know the Republican Party right now is trying to stop Donald Trump from being primaried, but I think he's already got three challengers right now against him. So the Republican primary has 4 people in it as of right now total, and they have an incumbent president. What does that tell you? Yeah. You know what I mean? So, there's already 4 people running total in the primary, and they have the White House right.
They're already trying to block his opponents from running in certain states.
Yeah, exactly. So
the party, the GOP is saying, we're not gonna let your primary opponents run here.
So I really think there is an appetite for a competent conservative to take that message, and Donald Trump, he may struggle. He may struggle. I think he still has a lot of support still from the beginning, but I don't know if it's as much. And I don't know if it's going to be able to withstand, coherent Republicans that come out there. I expect, somebody like John Kasich to jump in the race and start, ruffling feathers and stuff like that. So I honestly, judging by what the Republican Party does or what they are successful in doing, I can't see him getting out of a primary in the midst of when the investigations start and all this stuff comes out. Right. It's going to make it a lot easier for him to get primaried, and the Republican Party is eventually going to have to be like, well, if we can get rid of him now by setting up somebody, who can take this, who can win the White House, or at least be competitive, it might be better for them actually than going with trying to get Donald Trump, because I feel like if Donald Trump goes, Mike Pence, he may not go, but he is he may not go, but he's definitely in no position to be like, well, I'll run.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So
you gotta go too.
Yeah, so I feel like this whole administration will be gone, and I strongly don't believe they're gonna make it to 2020. But
that's one thing I don't think people understand is once the investigations start and the evidence starts rolling out, it's not like everything's going to be a big, bold red line pointing directly to Donald Trump, right?
Right.
It's going to be, that assistant, that family member,
right,
that guy who used to work for him, that attorney, that administration official. The cracks aren't all just going to happen to Donald Trump. It's gonna surround him. It's gonna be a fallout.
Yeah.
So
by the time are gonna be, they're all gonna get caught up into it.
By the time a vote that matters, by the time fucking Iowa comes around,
right.
There's gonna be people thinking about how they can't wait to vote for candidate A or candidate B because it's been uncovered that 5 of his family members sitting on hot money or some shit. It's gonna be bad. It'll be audacious. It'll be bad.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It'll be fucking the education secretary's brother taking a meeting with the Russians on the Seychelles before a presidential election meeting bad.
Yeah.
It will be that bad.
Yeah. We have the president of the United States right now who is being accused of asking a foreign leader to investigate his political opponent solely so he can weaken that opponent so he can win.
Right.
If that man gets on the ballot next November,
There's no more democracy.
Right, exactly. There's something seriously wrong with that. If we allow him to like be able to run for the office that he's abused, so egregiously right at this point, I don't know. I have no faith on I have no faith in our democracy because there's no I can't see how we allow that to happen. Yeah. We already know too much. And this is what he's doing. He's trying to get other countries
in our face.
To meddle in our election. Yeah, blatantly in our face, so he can keep power. And really, the only reason he wants to keep power is so he can continue to avoid prosecution for the crimes that he has committed before and after being president. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I mean, if that guy is on the ballot again for president of the United States, there's something wrong with our democracy.
Word.
Especially when his biggest opposition is the Democratic Party. It's Democrats who are running for his job, and Democrats control the House of Representatives. They control, subpoena power. They control the investigation. Mm-hmm. If they go to 2020 and he is on the ballot, there's something wrong. Right. With all the evidence and what they know and what we'll find out and what's already been done, that just can't happen. We cannot sit there and say, well, we'll just try to beat him in November. That's not good enough. He should not be on the ballot. It's disrespectful to the whole country. Right. It's disrespectful to the voters. It's disrespectful to everything.
Right. And to be clear,
get him on the ballot.
He will lose.
Right.
Clear,
he will most likely
lose.
Yes.
But he shouldn't even be there to lose because he should be in front of a fucking judge.
Right. Exactly. So,
right. So I 100% agree.
Shouldn't happen.
I 100% agree. Democrats need to do something. Fucking Republicans who still have a half a brain cell to rub together, they need to do something, and Americans need to do something. Because demographics are shifting, but like this is code red now. This is code red. We got the guy drawing Sharpies, using Sharpie, drawing on maps.
Yeah,
that's base. That's base level. Okay, you gotta go.
Could you imagine if Barack Obama?
I added this line here
because, oh my goodness.
And remember, I want to because you brought up. I brought up the Ukraine story, right? And we all know, what Trump's being accused of there. Do you remember when Barack Obama was president? I think it was during the second term. Mm-hmm. And it might have been at like one of these UN meetings. And he was meeting with I think it was Vladimir Putin. And he said, like the mic caught him saying something about, it'll be easier to do after the election.
Yeah, I think that was...
so it was his first term.
Yeah, it wasn't Vladimir Putin. It was, I guess, with the prime minister or whatever. I can't.
Oh not Vladimir Putin. I know his name.
Yeah, and he was in the Oval Office, and he had said, I'll be more flexible. I have more leverage.
Right, I'll have more leverage after the election.
And everyone lost.
Republicans lost their minds, Travis.
Right.
They were on Fox. This is tantamount to treason, making promises with the Russians. How dare the sitting president promise him something after an election? What does he know? How in cahoots is he? And it turned out to be nothing. But this is worse. This is a lot worse.
Dmitry Medvedev.
Medvedev.
You know that Russian. Yeah.
Yep.
Him,
Dmitry Medvedev.
That
guy.
He.
So they threw a fit. Because Dimitri's like, yo, you want to do that thing? He's like, give me a minute, I'm busy.
Yeah.
That's what it is. We'll talk later. I got shit to do.
And everybody that was...
everyone lost their fucking minds, Travis.
Like, I could not believe, that was caught on a hot mic. And, how could he? What are they planning?
Right.
And it blows my mind that the same people who swore to God that they were focused on that and then they're pure and honest with their intentions and questioning that hot mic moment.
Right.
Those same people are allowing this to happen.
Right.
Blows my mind, and it blows my mind that they're
Monsters
doing
and morons,
and it blows my mind that people are watching it from the outside looking in, and they still haven't put the dots together. Like, there's something that doesn't smell right about that. It doesn't make any sense to me. I remember when I was supposed to be really mad about Obama, and my granddaddy told me I needed to, and I was. But now, if all this stuff is true, like why is my granddaddy telling me now that my granddaddy showed up with a MAGA hat? But yet, if all this stuff is true, eventually, how are you not connected? You don't have to be like a terribly smart person to connect the dots and think, wow, my uncle's full of shit. Right. You know what I mean? You don't have to be that that smart. So it blows my mind that we're even here, because if you could just turn around and be like, wow, I mean, the shit that you accused Barack Obama, you don't even have to like Barack Obama, just love him, just speak the shit that you accused, even true or not true, whatever. Yeah. If those are your standards, what are you doing then? Like how do you ignore all this? All this stuff. You can't ignore everything. You can't, because they're hypocrites. On top of being monsters and morons, they're hypocrites. And that's mostly the work of the monsters. The monsters know goddamn well they can recall that story about Obama and Medvedev, and they know damn well that what the president is being accused of right now is a lot worse. Yep. But they're relying on the morons, frankly. Sorry, if it's not you, get the fuck out. The morons and the Republican Party to fucking be led to believe that, that was terrible. You should have been mad about that. This, not so much. In fact, fake news, let's not even talk about it, right? And how simple do you have to be to let such a glaring act of hypocrisy go? Like, how much of a simpleton are you? I genuinely want to know. So I'm gonna keep reiterating, but because apparently I need to. But if you're not a monster or a moron, get the fuck out of the Republican Party. Yeah. Get the fuck out. Right. Because they're making you look bad. You look terrible right now. I don't care how much you love your crazy Uncle Jack. You need to fucking leave, man, because these people are bad for us as a country. Yes. So, I mean, it always tickles me when I hear people, commenting in public about, I just can't. Politics in America has just gotten so bad. It used to be back in the day, you could be a Democrat, I could be a Republican, we could still have a civil conversation, but not no more. Everybody's so hyper-polarized. I wonder where this came from. Well, there's lots of things. There's a difference between I want to balance the budget and you want to spend more. There's a difference between that and I'm gonna lock these kids in cages and I'm gonna let the Nazis do their thing, and I'm gonna be unnecessarily cruel. I'm gonna have these police. How many fucking police? Forget about the unarmed black shootings. Fuck that for a minute. That's a terrible thing. But how many law enforcement officials have we heard stories about just sending the most vulgar, disgusting things? People like principals, town board members, just people in positions of power, just writing vulgar, obscene, hateful shit. Right. Mm-hmm. And that is the only thing that makes me nervous about all this. The end of the Republican Party, the end of the Trump presidency, is that maybe I'm underestimating the amount of people who actually are like, yeah, you know what? I'm a bigot. I'm a racist. I want a white America, and this is the party for me. I'm just not willing to say that at my job because I need money. Right. And, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm your boss. I'm your police officer. I'm your lawyer, whatever. And I'm not like that racist. Like, I'll use the same bathroom with you and that blah, blah, blah. Right. But at the end of the day, if I had it my way, I could do without you because and I think, there is a little bit of actual honest belief on these people that minorities are hurting the country and women working is bad for families. Right. And, being transgender is fake and climate change is a hoax. And there's people who generally actually believe that little tiny kernel, and it is sad. But I think it's I think I'm just kind of nervous that there's a little more people on the earth and in this country who might actually genuinely believe that stuff.
Yeah.
And I just hope I'm not underestimating these people, because I do believe that most of the Republican Party are not monsters and morons.
Right.
I generally believe that there's just a small percentage of this country who they're catering to. But then you say things like, those posts, and you look at all the average people who are just so thousands of just average people who are just so comfortable saying just horrific, disgusting things.
Yeah.
And they're just fine with it. So it makes me wonder, like, well, you don't know, you might know, John at work, but do you really know John? You know what I mean? Like, what does John do, after work? Like, look at the amount of people who got fired after they were, the Tiki Torch March.
Right.
And, down, in the hood, the white hoods and shit. Everyone's like, oh my God, like, I've worked with Bill for 5 years. He's a great employee. Turns out he's a Klansman. Who knew? You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm like, I'm nervous.
So and so's been on the Board of Education for 8 years. Turns out he's been sending death threats to fucking Rashida Tlaib.
Right.
Like, what the fuck,
so,
man?
I mean,
like, these people are,
this is what I hope, and I feel like, the
you're
numbers,
right, they're out there, man.
Right.
But
so I feel like we're good. I want to believe that it's not going to be a thing, and these things are going to come to an end. But there's also a small percentage in the back of my mind. It's like, well, is it? It's.
I think that's there because I don't know about you, but I certainly never thought we'd be in a place like this.
Right, I was just gonna say, well, because we're here, so that's probably why.
Like, I never, like, you know what it feels like? It feels like I'm living in, like, a bad political graphic novel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It feels like this is a work of fiction that, like a satirical political graphic novel. Like, this is just something I should be, like, picking up at Barnes and Noble and laughing at.
Right.
While I have universal health care and my college debt's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's what it feels like. So yeah, I think that's where that comes from. Like, Jesus Christ, this has happened. Yeah, I get that. But, I mean, numbers, they're the closest thing to undisputable, like the actual truth as we can get in the way that we measure things here on this planet, in this existence. And I'm looking at the fact that the guy who never hit 45% in popularity is mired in more controversy than any president, let alone when he started being president. I'm looking at a 2018 where we elected a whole bunch of kick-ass Democrats and unseated some Republicans. I think that was the indication to me. I think that I thought the Republicans, as we know it, is coming to an end. Because even the Democrats were shocked, like, oh shit, we did better.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Oh shit, that went better than we thought. Like, we were shocked by how much winning we did. It made our heads spin in 2018. So, I mean, I'm motivated by that. I'm motivated by the demographics shift. I heard a story a few days ago about how, liberal thinking people and millennials are moving into red cities. Yeah. Places like Knoxville and fucking, not Miami, Alabama and fucking North Carolina. They're turning red states blue, purple, certainly. Bernie's beating Trump in Texas in a poll.
Yeah.
Okay, so
like
things like that. Let me. I get a glimpse in American politic American, and I'm optimistic. What makes me nervous, I'm not naive though, what makes me nervous is that by the time we hash all this shit out and the facts are laid on the table and the dust settles, people are going to be so fucking exhausted, they're going to be like, I don't even want to vote. And you can't do that. You can't not vote. Just do it. Right. Fucking do it.
Exactly.
Just vote. Oh, it doesn't matter anymore. Well, fucking, if it didn't matter, they wouldn't be trying to rob you of it right now.
Right.
Ask Stacey Abrams how much your vote doesn't matter. Right? Ask her.
Yeah.
So
that's true. I mean, that's the thing is, I guess I in the numbers to me, I guess I guess my problem is that the amount of people, I know the amount of people who dislike Trump, and the amount of people who are totally against this agenda.
Yeah.
Total, like in the world and in the country, exceed the people who are for it. I know that by far, but I don't know if the number of people who actually participate in our democracy, when it comes to if we had to fight this based on, how many people agree, whoever gets the most yes or no yeses versus no's wins, I would feel good. Right. But it's a little more complicated than that, because we have to now make sure that we're going to win in who is participating. And that makes it a little different, because there's a lot of people who just don't vote. Like, I know tons of people who are eligible voters who just don't care, who just don't want to register, who don't want to pay attention because they're afraid of debate, or they're afraid of, being challenged, or whatever it is, or they just don't understand it and they're afraid to learn.
Or they just don't give a fuck.
Right, yeah. And that's unfortunate, and that's sad. Because we can, if the majority actually ruled in this country, we'd have everything we wanted. Things would be fine. But we actually have to learn how to govern and win elections in the actual arena. And that we have to win the game in the arena that we're in. And it doesn't matter what everybody in the parking lot is saying. That's great, but they're not even watching the game. So we need to. To me, that's what's scary. It's like, are we going to be able to show up and turn out? Because the monsters and the morons, the racists and the sexists and the millionaires and the billionaires, they're going to show up, and they're going to spend their money, and they're going to make sure that they're represented one way or another.
Right.
And we got to make sure that
we have to make sure people realize that no matter how much money they spend, no matter how many people show up to vote on their side, we have the same exact power. Because at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, the only thing that matters is fucking ticking off that box and voting.
Yeah.
And that's the only way that we can fight them. That's the only way that's the closest to even it will be.
Yeah.
Between the poor and disenfranchised in this country and the bigots and the billionaires who are going to be mobilized to try to convince us not to vote. That's the only power we have, and it works. It's been proven that it works, so that's why we need to exercise it. But listen, man, we got to wrap this up. We planned on just goddamn it, even though I hate these fucks, I can't help but be fair, and I really wanted to do the Democratic side. I really did, but maybe we'll do it. Maybe we'll do that one next week. We're coming up to the end of our time here, but. Yeah, was there anything you wanted to add, mention about the end of the GOP? I think we hit everything.
Yeah, basically. Yeah,
that's pretty much a primer on why the GOP is terrible and they're dying.
The end of the Republican Party starts with the party, and it's going to end with Trump. And they're all eventually we're going to get back to a point where we can actually govern what the House is going to look like.
Right.
Afterwards, I say house like metaphorically, like the apartment's gonna be a mess, kind of thing. After we what it looks like, I don't know what it's gonna be like. I don't know, like, when we actually get control back and we're actually be able to, like,
there's gonna be a lot of shit to clean up.
It's gonna be a lot of shit to clean up. So
get ready for that.
It's definitely going to be it's definitely going to be interesting, and it's going to be an exciting ride, regardless what you support, because shit's changing, and you got to start paying attention.
Right.
Period. Like, because you're gonna miss a lot of fireworks. This is a battle, literally, for our democracy, literally, for America.
The character and reputation of America itself.
And if people don't see that, then you might as well go to Canada, or go live in the woods, or you know what I mean, really, like, you know what I mean, because there's no point, and you can't honestly not pay attention and say, I'm just going to focus on raising my kids and focus on my job, because all those things are tied into this country. So if you're not going to pay attention, just don't do anything. Like, you know what I mean, like, what's the point? Like, instead of walking around pretending that you don't know what's going on, just don't do anything. Don't don't talk about anything, don't worry about anything, because you just don't care.
Right.
You're at the mercy of everybody else. So you're
Get
not
out
allowed
the
to
way.
thinking. I seen this one thing the other day. It's like, oh, people say, because I don't vote, I'm not allowed to have an opinion. I'm like, well, that's exactly what that means. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, you can have an opinion, but you need to keep that shit to yourself.
Can, but no one's going to take it seriously
exactly.
because you didn't fucking vote.
There's no reason why you should have an opinion because you don't do anything about it. So, like,
you can have it all you want.
Yeah.
You can have it.
Keep it to
yourself.
yourself.
It's America.
I don't even want to hear it. Like, if you're not going to vote, like, what's the point? Like,
yeah. Why should you?
Why talk about the thing if you're not going to do the thing?
Yeah, so, I mean, we want you in the conversation. We want you to talk.
Right. I want as many people
but at
as
the
possible.
end of the day, you got to vote, man.
Right.
You got to step up and be a part of it. I'm not saying you got to fucking put on a pussy hat and march around the world, but you can at least fucking go vote.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Not that much. That's not that hard of a request to make. For freedom in a democratic society.
Exactly. It's not that hard.
It's not that hard.
Just go do it. I think that's
shit, man.
In conclusion, basically, that's literally the end. I think the Republican Party is ending, and Donald Trump's presidency is coming to an end, and this is all going to happen in the near future. But it only happens if people participate and people vote.
Yes.
And we actually fight for the country that a majority of us want.
Right.
But we'll see. We'll see if it's all contingent on if we get active. And there's a lot of excitement out there too. People are motivated right now. So it's like
let's fucking get it.
Let's get it.
I like it. All right. That does it for this episode of the Kitchen Table Pundits Podcast. You can follow us on Facebook. Like us on Facebook. I'm going to set up the Twitter. I promise. I should have done it between season 1 and 2, but I didn't because, again, you don't know my life. We're on it. But you can email us directly at thebestkitchentablepodcast@gmail.com. We read every letter. And we're back, baby. I know Ed's been waiting for us. Shout out to Ed.
We are back.
The #1 fan. We're back. You can breathe easy again, Fred. We'll see you next week. Y'all stay up.